Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm excited to introduce a modern expense tracker AI web app built with Next.js 15, Tailwind CSS, and AI-powered insights. It includes user authentication, intelligent expense categorization, real-time analytics, dark mode support, and AI-driven financial recommendations, all deployed for free. We've built this using Next.js 15, Tailwind CSS, Neon Postgres database, Clerk for Authentication, and OpenRouter for free AI integration without requiring credit card details. Everything is deployed on Vercel, making it completely serverless and scalable. Let's see what this app includes. The homepage features a beautiful hero section with gradient backgrounds, feature highlights, and full light and dark mode support. There is an About page explaining the app's purpose and benefits, plus a contact page with multiple support options, all fully responsive. For authentication, we are using Clerk with Google, GitHub, Facebook, or email login. After signing in, users get a personalized dashboard showing their profile information. Below that, the Add New Expense section lets users enter description, date, category, and amount. The AI suggestion feature analyzes descriptions and automatically suggests appropriate category using this sparkle button. The dashboard updates in real time with an interactive Chart.js expense chart showing spending trends with dynamic colors for both dark and light modes. Also, this component displays comprehensive statistics including average daily spending and best worst expense days. The AI Insights section analyzes spending patterns and provides personalized recommendations in a card-based layout. Insights include warnings, tips, success messages, and general guidance. Users can click on action buttons for detailed AI explanations with confidence scores and expandable answers. The expense history shows all entries with beautiful cards, and users can delete records with smooth animations, and everything updates immediately. Technically, this project uses Next.js 15 with App Router and Server Actions, Neon Postgres with Prisma, and OpenRouter for free AI access. Clerk handles authentication seamlessly, and everything deploys free on Vercel, demonstrating how modern AI apps can be built without upfront costs. All source code is available in a GitHub repository, link in the description. If you're learning full stack development or want to build AI-powered applications, you are in the right place. In the next section, we're going to install Next.js, Tailwind CSS, and create our first template. Alright, welcome back. In this section, we're going to install Next.js, Tailwind CSS, and create our first template. As you can see, I have put the final version in this address, expense-tracker.100jsprojects.com. You can come here, check the website, and be familiar with the pages. And you can also sign in and create an account and also use it. And also, I have put an eraser diagram that shows the structure of the project, like the folders and files structure, which components we have, how we create the pages, and also how we create the actions. I'm gonna share the link of this eraser.io diagram in the description as well. You can use it, and also you can clone it. You can work with that and use it for your own project. So let's start creating this project. First, we need to install Next.js. So I'm gonna search Next.js on Google, and in the search result, we're gonna go to nextjs.org. So we're gonna use the quick installation. So if you look at the eraser, you can see for a start, we're gonna use this utility, npx create next app at latest. And we're going to create a folder called next-expense-tracker. You can name this folder any name you like. It can be any name. And then this utility is going to create the first files and folders in our project. So in the Next.js.org, if you look at the Get Started tab and go to installation, let me zoom this a little bit. Okay. You can see for automatic installation, we can just use this utility in our terminal. And this is going to ask us some questions about how we're gonna install it. Like, do we want to install it with TypeScript, Tailwind CSS, and etc. So I'm gonna copy this, or click here to copy it. And first thing first, we wanna create a folder. So I'm gonna go to my desktop. Here's my desktop. I go to project. I'm gonna create a folder called Next-expense-tracker. Just be sure the folder is named without any space, so you're not gonna have any problem later. So once you create the folder, you can just drag it and drop it inside Visual Studio Code, or just you can use quick actions and open it inside Visual Studio Code. And here, as you can see now, we have Visual Studio Code with this folder as a default. It's called Next-expense-tracker. So now we can install Next.js. We can just open the terminal by going to View and open the terminal. Just be sure that you are inside this folder. And then we're going to paste the code that we have copied from Next.js website, and we can add dot at the end. So we're not going to create a new folder. So I'm going to press enter. This is going to ask us some questions. For example, do we want to proceed? We say yes. And would you like to use TypeScript? I say yes. S-Link, yes. Tailwind CSS, yes. Do you like to code inside the src directory? This one, I just say no. It's up to you. It's the same, but in this project, I don't want to use src folder. Would you like to use OpenRouter? Yes, this is the new ways to create pages and like dynamic pages, and it's very simple to do it, and it's recommended as well. We say yes. TurboPack, no. And the default value alias, would you like to use the default one? I say yes. And this is the default one. As you can see now, we have some folders and files here. As you can see inside the app directory, we have some files like global CSS, layout.tss, and page.tsx. If you look at the eraser, as you can see, after installing, we're going to have some files and folders, some config files, and then we're going to have a folder called app. All the pages is going to be created using this app folder. That's why we call it OpenRouter. So for example, if you want to create the about page, we just create a folder called about and a file called page.tsx, and this is going to be our page /about. For contact, it's going to be similar, just one folder called contact and a file called page.tsx. This layout.tsx is going to be the main layout of the website. For example, in our page, we have this navbar in all pages. For example, here we are in homepage, about, and contact page. We have this navbar. So we don't need to create the navbar over and over. We just create a component for the navbar and add it to our layout.tsx. For this footer as well, we have this footer in all pages. Okay, let's see that the installation is completed or not. So now we are installing dependencies like React, React DOM, and Next, and also some dev dependencies for our, for example, Tailwind CSS here and TypeScript. So now we have successfully installed Next.js. In order to see our website, we can easily, let me clear this. We can easily say npm run dev, and this is going to create a server for us in our local host. So the server is going to be on port 3000 by default. So you can just keep the control and click on it, and this is going to be open in your browser. As you can see, we have a page. It is created by default by Next.js. And in order to edit this page, we can edit this file, page.tsx, inside the app directory. So I'm going to get rid of this page and create a just by scratch. So let's just bring it to the right side and the Visual Studio Code to the left side. So I'm going to do some changes so you can see it in real time here. So in order to edit this page, we can just go to page.tsx and we can just delete everything and create a React functional component using RFC. We can just call this one home page. As you can see, we have this home page here. In order to create the React functional component by just typing RFC, you need to have an extension here. So if you go to extensions, you can see we have some installed extensions. The one I'm using for creating this React functional component is this extension. This is ES7 React Redux React Native Snippets. You can just search this one in this search bar and find it and install it. The other things that is important to install, I have this multiple cursor case preserve to just change the multiple cursors at the same time. We have Prettier to automatically format the code. Also, you need to install Prisma because we are using Prisma. This one is going to highlight the syntaxes. Then we have Tailwind CSS IntelliSense. This is going to be useful by suggesting us some codes that is, for example, for colors and etc. And also we have this auto rename tag. So let me show you, for example, for Tailwind CSS IntelliSense, if we now, for example, add a class name here, and for example, I type red, as you can see, we have some suggestion here. For example, background red 50 and all the colors are here. These are all suggested by this extension, Tailwind CSS IntelliSense. You can just, for example, choose one of them. And also you can see now we have this background red here in the browser. So it means that Tailwind CSS is working fine. If I change this one to text, you see the text is red. So make sure that the Tailwind CSS is working for you. Now, the other things we need to do is to add this code inside a GitHub repository. We need to do that later to easily deploy this application inside our, for example, Vercel, so we can share it with others. So, and also you can keep this code for yourself. So you go to just github.com. This is my account. What you do is to sign in. It's totally free. And then you just click on this plus icon, create a new repository. You can name it. For example, I just call it Next-expense-tracker. I call it AI or whatever. I just find next expense. I just say expense tracker AI. Well, let's add AI here as well. Using Next.js, Tailwind CSS, Clerk, and Neon. Let's just, you can keep it private so nobody can see your code, or you can make it public so you can share it with others. I want to make it public because you can have access to this as well. I'm going to share the link of this GitHub repository with you. So you can just, if you are building it, you can just use my code, or you can just compare your code with mine so you can get rid of your errors. So I've created this. In order to connect this one to our code, you can just copy these 3 lines of code. And let's just, first we need to commit the changes here. So I'm just gonna add this change and then call this one install Next.js and Tailwind CSS and create the first template. So now we can commit this. And in order to connect this one to our GitHub repository, we can just paste these 3 lines of code that we have copied and paste them here. This is going to upload the code inside the GitHub repository, and we can just refresh the page now, and we can see that all our code is deployed here. So if you go to commit section, you can see that now we have these 2 commits. The first one is automatically created by Next.js, but the second one is created by us. As you can see, you can click on it. So each section, you can just click on the commit and see what I have done. For example, here I have just deleted everything inside the page.txt inside the app folder and just replace it with this code. There was nothing I did. So each section, I'm going to commit a new message. And based on this part, you can come and see the changes. All right. So that was it for installation of Next.js, Tailwind CSS, and create our first template. In the next section, we're going to install Neon and Prisma. So see you in the next section. All right, in the last section, we have installed Next.js and Tailwind CSS and create our first template. In this section, we're going to work on connecting our database to our application. The database we're going to use is Neon. Neon is a Postgres database. It's designed to be useful for scaling. Also, they have something called branching, and it works with many languages. For example, you can add it to your Python project, Next.js project. The things we want to use is Prisma. We want to connect our application using Prisma, and it's very fast even in their free tier. So it's completely free. You can make up to 10 projects with the free tier, and it's super fast even in their free version. So what we want to do here is to log in or sign up with your project. You can use the link in the description for having access to Neon. You just, I'm going to use Google to connect to Neon. So here, as you can see, I have created already 4 projects and they're up and running, and they're all free. I haven't paid anything even. You don't need to add your credit card. So it's completely free, as you can see here. So we're going to create a new project. I'm going to name it, for example, Expense Tracker AI. You can use AWS or Azure, doesn't matter. And you can use the latest version of Postgres. As you can see, it's 17. And then you can just click on Create. Once you create your project, you can connect it to your application. What you want to get is to get an application string, connection string. You can just click on Connect. Here is your string. You can just copy it, and you can go back to Visual Studio Code, and you need to add it in an environmental variable, because otherwise you're gonna expose it to others. Because when you're uploading your application to GitHub repository, you're gonna upload your code as well, but the .env file is going to be ignored. So here I'm gonna create a new variable, and I'm going to call it database underline URL. And this is going to be equal to the application string that we have copied. And also I want to create a .env example file, so you're going to have access to it inside my GitHub repository, so you know how to add your environmental variables. So this file is going to be database URL. I'm going to just leave this as an example for you. And I just want to upload this one to GitHub, but not this one. So I go to .ignore, and here I'm going to just say just .env, ignore .env file, but not the .env.example. So that's it for this part. Now we need to connect Prisma to our application. So if you come back to Neon and we go to integration, for example, here, integrations, we can see now we can use a Prisma to integrate. We can just click on read. In order to connect it, first we get the connection string that we have already done. Then we need to have a file called Prisma, schema.prisma, and then we're going to add this code inside that file. And in this way, we're going to be connected to Prisma. So now, first thing first, we need to install Prisma. So I'm going to clear this terminal, and we're going to install Prisma. We just say npm i-d Prisma. So this is going to install Prisma for us. The next step is to initialize it using npx Prisma init. All right, it's installed already. So let's initialize it. Let me create this. So we're going to say npx Prisma init. All right, so now as you can see, the Prisma is already initialized. So we can see a folder here called Prisma, and inside that we have a schema.prisma. Here for the generator client, we just need the provider. We don't need this generated. Let's delete this one. If you don't delete it, it's gonna create an extra files, which is going to make some problems for your code. So make sure to delete that one. And also the provider is PostgreSQL, and also the .env, which is database underline URL, which we have provided here. After that, we're going to have our model for user and record. So in our application, we have two models. We have one for the user, because we have each user is going to come to our application, sign up and have an account. And also they're going to have some record. For example, they're going to add some of their expenses. So these expenses is going to be added as a record. So let's add those here. We're going to first we create a model for user. For the user, let me just decrease here. We have ID, which is a type of string, and also as a default is UUID. Then we have, as we are using Clerk for authentication, we have Clerk user ID, which is a string as well, and also it's going to be unique. Then we have email, which is unique as well. Then we have name, which is a string. Then we have image URL, because each user can have an image which is coming there from their Google account and etc., or they can add their own image. So this is going to be string. We're going to have created at, which is the date time, and also the default is just present time when they're recording. And then we have updated at, and finally we're going to have expenses, or we can just call it records. So I'm gonna just, we can call it expense, or if I did it before records, so I don't want to change it. So here, just say record. It can be any name, it doesn't matter. And this is going to be an array. So now we have to create this record because we are now getting an error. So let's create that. So we're gonna have a model. The model is going to be named record and also has an ID with the same system. Then we have text with the type of string. Then we have amount, which is float, which is a number. Then we have category, which is a string. And also the default value is going to be other. Then we have the date, which is a date time, and the default value is the present time. Then user ID. Then we have the user, which is connects to our user model. So it's going to have a relationship. Relationship is going to be the field of user ID, and the reference is going to be the user, the Clerk user ID, because that is unique. And also the other things I want to add is on delete is going to be cascade. Finally, we have the created at with the default value of now, and we're gonna have this at index at the end, which is the user ID as well. Let's close this and also close this model. So let's see this error for category. Category is going to be a string. Let's fix these things. And for the default, we need to have at here. Okay, now we don't have any error. So this is for our schema.prisma. Now we need to kind of deploy this one to our Prisma for our Neon database. So we can see it inside our tables here in our database. So now we come back here and inside the terminal, let me clear this. And then here we're gonna have Prisma. We just say npx Prisma generate. So this is going to generate that table and everything else inside Neon using this schema. So as you can see, now they loaded this file. Just we need to wait. Now that we have created and generated, let's just migrate this one to our Neon. So we just say npx Prisma, and at the end we just say migrate. Let me show migrate. That's correct. And then also we say div at the end. So let's see. Now we just need to add a name for our migration. I just say expanse underline, for example, tracker underline AI. So as you can see, now we have a new folder inside the Prisma, which is our migration that SQL file. This is a kind of a code that is going to create our tables. For example, this one is going to create a table called user and also another table called record. So let's check the Neon now. Let's go to the table. As you can see now, we have two tables. One is user, which has the value, for example, ID, clerk ID, email, name, image URL, and also we have record with this ID, text, amount, category, and etc. So we have successfully created our tables inside our database using Prisma. Now we want to create a file to connect to our database and prevent reconnecting if we are already connected. So here, if you look at the eraser.io, you can see that inside a folder called lib or library, we're going to have a file called db.ts, and based on this file, we're going to connect to our database in our application. So let's create this one. So we're going to have a folder called lib and also a file called db.ts. So now here, first thing first, we want to import Prisma, but Prisma client, and this is going to be coming from Prisma/client. And after that, we're going to, first we want to declare a global, and here we're going to have a variable called Prisma, and this is going to be this Prisma client, or if it's not available, we just say undefined. And finally, we're going to export a constant called db, and this is going to be equal to global this.prisma, or if it's not available, we want to create a new Prisma client. So let's close this. Okay, that's it. And then finally, if we have a process.env.node environment not equal to production, we're gonna set it to be db here. So in this way, if we are not connected to the database, we're gonna connect it to it. So that's it for connecting to our database and connecting Neon to our application. In the next section, we're going to work on Clerk Authentication. We're gonna save the users that are using Clerk to sign up to our application inside Neon. So let's add this one to the GitHub. So here we're gonna add all the files we need to our application. We just say plus, and the message is going to be install Neon and Prisma. And we can just commit and push. So this is going to add this commit to our GitHub repository. So now, as you can see, now we have this new one. So each time you see the video and you have some problem in your code, you can just come here and compare your code with this one that is available for you for free inside GitHub repository. So that's it for this part. In the next section, we're going to work on the Clerk Authentication. All right, in the last section, we have installed Neon and Prisma, and we have connected our database to our application. In this section, we're going to work on installing Clerk for authentication. You can use the link in the description to go on Clerk. Clerk is the authentication that is completely designed for easily add authentication to our application. For example, you can easily add Google, GitHub, and email and password authentication just by adding this package to your application. Also, they have ability to verify your email, and also you can update your profile, image, and etc. easily by Clerk. And also it's suitable for many frameworks like Next.js, Remix, React, and etc. So you just need to sign in And it's completely free. You can create your application for free. Let me just sign in with my email account. And here you can just create a new application here at the top. We name the application, for example, I just say Expense Tracker AI. I want to add just Google, Facebook, for example. We can add GitHub, and also the email. Let's create the application. As you can see, now they're suggesting me for the frameworks. I've chosen Next.js. You need to install first the Clerk Next.js. Let me just copy this. We go back to Visual Studio Code. Let's clear this terminal. And I want to paste this here. The next step is to add our environmental variables for Clerk, like Next public Clerk, and also the Clerk secret. Let me copy this and we go back to our .env file and add it here. And also let me add it to the example as well. Okay, so in the next step, we need to add this middleware.ts. If you look at the eraser.io, as you can see, for creating the pages for sign up and signing page, you can see we have two folders, sign in and sign up. And inside that, we have a folder called sign in, but with 3 dots at the beginning and 2 brackets. And at the end, we have page.tsx, which is going to create the /sign in and also /sign up. So then we're going to create a file inside our root directory called middleware.ts. Let me create that middleware.ts. And we can add this code in that file, as you can see here. And the next step is to add the Clerk provider to our application. We need to add it to our layout.tsx. So if we add it to our layout.tsx, this is going to cover all the applications. So all the application, like all the pages, like about, contact, like homepage, and everything else is covered by our Clerk Authentication. So let's go to our layout.tsx inside the app folder, and we're gonna add the Clerk to that. Here we just need to import Clerk provider from clerk/next, and we can wrap our application from here. We just say Clerk provider, and then we're gonna close it. So now our application is just covered by Clerk provider. So what we want to do in the next section, in the next part, we're going to add the sign in and sign up pages. So here we can continue to the next guide. And here we can see we need to create the signing and sign up pages by just adding this file and folder, as I mentioned here in the eraser. Sign in page.tsx. So let me just copy this until here. Let's go to Visual Studio Code, and inside the app, I'm going to paste that, which is going to create this file and folder. We can, for now, we just add this here. And we can do the same things for the sign up page as well. So let me do it again. Let me copy this first. So this is going to be sign up. And we're gonna do the same thing for the sign up page. This is going to be sign up. Okay. So now that we have added this, we need to add it to in our environmental variable as well. So we need to add this one to our environmental variable. So we simply go to our environmental variable and add these 3 lines of code to that here. And also I'm going to add it to the example. Okay, now let's go to our application and test this. Let's go to /sign in. Okay, let's see. Okay, now we are inside our application. As you can see, it's Expense Tracker AI. We can sign in here. Before sign in, when we sign in, I want to add the information to Neon, the information for the user to Neon. For doing that, I want to add it to a component that is available in all pages. If you look at the final version, you can see that the Navbar is inside all pages. So let's create the Navbar component first. So let's create the components folder and then we add it. So I'm going to create the components folder first. So here inside the root directory, I'm going to create a folder called components and then a file called navbar.tsx. So this is going to be a simple React functional component. And then here, I want to add a function that, first thing first, I want to add it to our application. So let's go to the layout.tsx and add the navbar here before its children. So navbar, we're going to import that. So now if you look at our application, navbar is here. And it's inside the sign-in page, it's inside the home page, everywhere. So now I want to add a function inside this navbar. So anytime it's going to check if the user is not available inside the neon, it's going to add it inside neon. So what we want to do is to create a file. If you look at the eraser, you can see we have a file inside the eraser. We have library, and then we have a file called checkuser.ts. So let's create that file. So inside this library, I'm going to create that file. And this file is going to check if the user exists or not. So we're going to import the current user from Clerk/next/server. And then also we want to import the database. We want to check the database as well. Database is coming from the same place as well, that db.ts. After that, we want to export a constant called checkuser. And this is going to be asynchronous. We just say the user is equal to current user. We're going to get it from Clerk. If there's no user, we're going to return null. But we have to check if the user is already existed inside the database or not. So first we just say, for example, if the user is logged in. So we check the database and we check the unique. We want to check the database if the Clerk user ID is equal to this user we get .id. Okay. We get this login user. If we already logged in, we just say if log, we're going to return the user. So we're not going to add it to the database. Otherwise, we want to create a new user. We just say user.create, and the data we want to add is the Clerk ID. Also, we want to get the name, which is going to be we want to add the full name. So we're going to get the first name plus the last name. And then we want to get the image URL, which is a user.image URL. And then we want to get that email, which is user.email addresses. We want to get the first email. So otherwise, we want to get just null, or that's fine here. I'm sure we get it. And then we can just close this. And finally, we're going to return the new user. So we want to call this function inside our navbar. So we go to the navbar and add it to our navbar. So here's at the top, I'm going to just import that check user. Okay, we have created this one. And also we want to call it there. We just say const user check user. So now let's try this. So now we have the navbar. Let's sign in, for example, with this Gmail account. Okay, continue. So now when we are authenticated, we're going to be redirected to the home page. Now we check our database, which is inside the neon. We go to users. As you can see, now we have one user added to our database with the ID, Clerk user ID, email, name, and etc. As you can see, our record is completed. And also we have the image, the time is created, the name, which is the first name, and the last name. So that is fine. So everything is created now. If you look at the final version, you can see the navbar is very advanced. So we have to spend one section just for the navbar because we need to add this dark mode functionality. But now we know that if we sign in, we're going to add the user to the database. All right, that was it for adding Clerk to our application. Let's add this one to our GitHub. As you can see, the user is also added to our Clerk as well. Let's see, first user. So let's add this one to the GitHub repository. So I'm gonna add everything, and this is going to be add Clerk Authentication. Okay, so we can just commit and push. Let's check our GitHub repository. As you can see, the new one is added inside the GitHub repository. So in the next section, we're going to complete our navbar and make it like the one in the final version. So see in the next section. All right, in the last section, we have installed Clerk and add Clerk Authentication to our project. In this section, we're going to work on adding the navbar. As you can see from the final version, you can see we have a logo on the left side with some hover effect. We have a menu in the middle. We have a button for toggling between the dark mode and light mode. And also we have a sign-in button for Clerk, which is going to be replaced by an avatar when we are logged in. Also, if we decrease the size, you can see that it's responsive. So we have a hamburger menu when we have a smaller size. So we're gonna apply that one as well. And also this, you can see this logo is smaller and doesn't have the word AI at the end. So in order to create that, we need to create and work on the navbar component. If you look at the files here in the component navbar, we have just created. It has a function, but it doesn't have anything else. And here is the final version. We just have navbar. So from now on, I'm not gonna focus on the styling and other things and just typing the codes. I'm gonna just paste the code and explain it to you. So in order to save time. All right, let me just paste the code here and explain it to you. So for having the mobile menu, we have added a piece of state called set is mobile menu open, and it's going to be false at the beginning or as a default. And once we call this function toggle mobile menu, we're gonna instead of having the true, we're gonna have false, or false it's going to be. And also we have a close button. If we close it, we're gonna set the mobile menu to false. On the left side, we have the logo section. So the logo section is going to be including the icon and some text. And for the bigger sizes, we have this expense tracker AI. For the smaller sizes, like mobile section, we have only this word. And it's going to be hidden in the smart size and above. After that, we have the navigation link. So it's going to be the home, about, and contact. And finally, we're gonna have the toggle, the theme toggle. If you look at this final version, we have this. This is a separate component, so we need to create it. So let's create this component. So it's going to be called theme toggle.tsx. Let's paste the code here. This is for the theme toggle. We need to have some contacts. What I mean by contacts is having a state which is global, because we want to have this dark mode functionality in everything. Like when we apply, it's going to be applied in all the pages. So we need to save it inside a global management system. For doing that, we're going to use contacts. So let's create this contacts as well. So here inside the root of our application, we're going to create a folder called contacts. And it's going to be a new folder called contacts. And inside this folder, we're going to create a file called theme contacts. So let's create this file here, theme contacts.tsx. Let me just check first. So theme toggle here. team context must be uppercase. Okay. So here's the code for team context. It's very simple. We just need to wait for the page to be loaded, and then we're gonna set the theme based on our choice, and also we're gonna save it inside the local storage. And based on the local storage, each time we're gonna load it, and we wanna know if we are in the dark mode or in the light mode. If we are in the dark mode, we're gonna add it to the dock of the browser. Otherwise, we're gonna remove it. So let me just, okay, now we're not getting an error here. So in the navbar, let's continue. So after this toggle, team toggle, then we're gonna have the authentication. Authentication, we're gonna have two conditions. If we are logged in, we wanna see the avatar. If we are not, we wanna see the button saying sign in. So here we just say if we are signed out, we see the sign in button. Otherwise, we want to see the user button, which is the avatar. In the mobile, we're gonna have the same thing, but in the different order. So this is all this kind of styling for setting up the mobile friendly section. For example, here, if we click on this button, we're gonna toggle between mobile menu and the desktop menu. So these are very simple, actually. You can just figure out by yourself. So now, if we look at the final version and we refresh the page, we are getting an error that use theme must be used within the theme provider. So let's check the theme context.tsx. So what we need to do actually here, I forgot to do it, is to add the theme provider inside the layout.tsx. So let me replace this code with the new ones. I'm going to explain you here. So here, remember we had that Clerk provider. Now we wrap that one with the theme provider as well. And also I've changed the Clerk provider to Clerk theme provider. The reason I did it because we need to actually add the dark mode and light mode functionality to the Clerk as well. So we need to create a new component called Clerk theme provider and add it there. So let's create this component. I'm going to create a new component called Clerk theme provider.tsx. And let's paste the code here. This is mostly is a styling. I want to have a different style for the, for example, title, social buttons, and everything else based on the dark mode and the light mode. And for having this functionality, we need to install this package as well. So we need to install clerk/themes. So let's go to the terminal and install it here. npm install clerk themes. So now we shouldn't get the error here. Okay. And let's see the layout. We need to have the footer as well. So let's create the footer components. I'm gonna finish the footer. It's very simple. If you look at the final version, the footer is just some menu and icons as well. And it's going to be added in all pages by adding it to the layout.tsx. So here, I'm gonna create a new component called footer.tsx. Let's add the code here. So this is just a tag called footer, and then we're gonna have the logo. We're gonna have some text, and also we have some links, including the home, about, and features. And at the end, we're gonna have some copyright and social. So let's see if we are getting any other error. Okay, now we should check the final version. As you can see, now we have the navbar at the top with the menu, and also now the toggle is not working. Let's see the clerk. As you can see, we are logged in. Let's check. Okay, the styling is working for the here. As you can see, we have the green style in the clerk. Let's log out. Okay, it's working, nice. But this dark mode function is still not working. Let me check that. So let's go to about page. Oh, it's in the normal pages, as you can see, the footer goes to the end. But as we don't have any content in the homepage, we see the footer at the top. So it's going to be fixed soon. But let's figure out the toggle mode. Let me check our application in the storage. So local storage. We have the theme dark. Let's change this one. Okay, this one is changing it from the light to dark, but we haven't applied it yet. So probably we have to do something in the global CSS. What we need to do actually is to go to the Tailwind. Let me just decrease here. Let's go to here. We have global.css, layout. What we need to have here is a Tailwind file that we don't have right now. All right, I have fixed the problem. You just need to go to global.css and replace your code with this one. And also, I have added a file called tailwind.config.ts, which includes the dark mode class. And the problem was the new version of the Tailwind CSS wasn't compatible with the dark mode functionality. And I've actually decreased the version to this version, 3.4.17. Just make sure to install this version and follow these things. And now if you look at our website, you can see the dark mode functionality is working. Let me test now, as you can see, it's working fine. Let's sign in. So now we should see the avatar here. Even this one is dark mode and light mode is applied. Here, for example, manage account, you can see the dark mode. And here's the light mode. Let me check the other things. The only problem here is this sign in page. It should be in the middle. Let me just fix that one. We can go to the sign in. And here we're going to fix that. We can just bring it to the center by adding flex item center. Let's do the same thing for the sign up as well. Okay, let's see. Okay, now it's in the center. There's the sign in. It's working fine. Also, we have this green color as well. Let's go inside. Okay, it's working fine. Let's also finish the about and contact and also the homepage. They are very simple. They don't have any functionalities. So let's log out, sign out here. Let's complete the about page. If you look at the eraser, you can see in order to create the about page, we just need to create a folder called about and a file called page.tsx. And this React functional component is going to create this /about. For the contact, it's going to be the same. So let's go to the app directory. We create a folder called about and a file called page.tsx. And also let's do the same for the contact. We just say contact and also page.tsx. Let me just paste the code for the about page. It's not too, let's just close this, go to about. Okay, as you can see, it doesn't have anything like functional. Mostly it's just a styling, as you can see. And it's completely responsive as well. So mostly it's just styles. So we don't need to explain it. If you want to understand each style, for example, you can just click on it or choose it. If you can see the explanation when you hover over it. So actually overflow dash hidden is actually overflow hidden in CSS. So any problem you have, as you can see, gap is this one. So there's nothing complicated about the styling. Now let's do the same thing for the contact page. So the contact page is going to be exactly the same style with a different content. And for the home page, as you can see, if you look at the final version, the home page is very similar to the about and contact page. But the way we apply it is a little bit different, because we want to show the home page. If we are logged in, we want to see the dashboard. Otherwise, we want to see the normal page. So we have to make a condition, and based on that condition, we want to do that. So we go to page.tsx, which is the home page. If you look at the eraser, you can see in order to create the home page, we use this file, page.tsx, and this is going to be the home page. So here, inside the home page, let me just delete this one. I was testing something. So here we're going to import a current user from Clerk, and then we want to make a condition. First thing first, we want to get the user, which is going to be the calling the current user. Let's say add a wait here as well, and also make this one asynchronous. So this is going to be in the server side. And for the here, we just want to create a condition. If there is no user, we want to just return a component called guest. Otherwise, we want to see the dashboard. So now, for now, it's just so let's close this. And then we want to create this component, guest.tsx. So let me just paste it here. So this is going to be that content in the guest section. So let's go to our website. And here, guest is not defined. Let me just import it. Okay, now we have this page. But if you log in, we should see something else. We see this homepage. So later we're gonna replace this one with the dashboard. But now, when we are not logged in, we see this guest page. Okay, now we have created the about, homepage, contact. So everything is ready. Now the static part of the website. From now, we're gonna start adding the functionality, like connecting to our database, creating then like a new record and other things. So let's add this one to the GitHub. So here we're gonna add everything, and this is going to be the complete Navbar component and guest, about, and contact pages. Now we can commit and push. So in the next section, we're going to implement the add expense record feature and form handling and validation. So we're going to be able to add a new record. So if you look at the final version, if you log in, so if you logged in here, we should see the dashboard. In the next section, we're going to be able to add a new expense. Or see what we can make first. We can just add this one as well. This is the functionality we're going to create. We need to create some actions to do it. For example, we need to create an action called add expense record. That is, so we need to have this action, and based on that, we can add a new expense. It has some form validation and etc. So see in the next section. All right, welcome back. In the last section, we have completed the navbar, the home, about, and contact static pages. In this section, we're going to work on the dashboard for the user. If you look at the final version, you can see in the dashboard, we have many sections. First, we're gonna have a section that's showing the user's information, when they joined and when they're last active. Then we have a component for adding the new expense. Also, we have a chart, some statistics, and then we have an AI insight. And at the end, we have the expense history. So in this page, we're gonna create this component. Let's first create these components and add this page here with this welcome section. So the place we want to add this one is this page.tsx. So we have created this guest section. This guest section is the section that we are not logged in. But when we are logged in, we want to see this section. Let me just paste all the new code here and then I explain you everything. So if the person is logged in, they're gonna see firstly the information about the user, including we're gonna say welcome, the first name. Then we have the date that is created and also the date that is last active. Then we're gonna have some other components. For example, add new record chart, expense, stat, AI insight, and etc. Let's create these components. So the first one is this component. Let's copy this. So add new record.tsx. Let's create a React functional component. The next one is the record chart.tsx. Then we have the expense stats. Then we have the AI insights. And finally, we have the record history. Okay, let's okay, we have to just delete the last one, fix it. Okay, now we don't have any error. Let's see our application. We need to log in first. Okay, now we see the welcome section and also these components that we have created. These are also responsive, as you can see. So the first place that we want to work on is this add new record. So let's go to our add new record. So let's paste the code here. I'm going to explain it from the top. We need to create two actions here. If we look at the eraser, you can see the actions is kind of new ways to add API routes. So these are actually the functionality. For example, if we want to add a new record, we're gonna use this action. If I want to delete it, we use this. If we want to get some AI insight, we use this one. So instead of creating the API route now in the Next.js version 15 and later, we are using actions, which are server actions. So the first one we need to create is the act expense record. So let's just create this action. Let's close everything. So the action folder is going to be inside the app folder. So inside the app, we have another folder called actions. So let's create a folder called actions. And inside here, we're gonna have the new file called add expense record.ts. Let me just paste the code here. So this is a use server action. So it's going to be inside the server side because we want to protect this code from the users. So the users cannot see this code. So what we want to do here, we want to get the text, amount, category, and date from the form. So if you look at the final version, you can see we have 4 sections inside this. We're gonna have the description, date, category, and amount. So we're gonna get these informations and save it inside our database. So what we want to do after getting all this information, we're going to use the try and catch record, and then we're going to save it inside our database by using the record.create. We send all these informations. And also we want to use the revalidate date. So if we are using this one, it means that when we submit the form, the other parts of the website is going to be re-rendered. So we're going to see a new things. So this is this part. Now the other actions we need to add, if we look at the eraser, we need to add a new here. I want to show you, for example, here when I say coffee, and if I click on this button, this is going to get the information from the AI, and this is going to automatically choose a category based on this. So this is coffee. So we have chosen the food and dining. So we're going to use AI to decide what category we can have. So we're going to create a new action for this part only. So which is called, let's see, this add new record. We're going to create a new action called suggest category. So this is going to be this one, suggest category. Let's create this one. We go to the actions and then we just make this file. This is going to be a server action as well. So based on the description that we have, for example, we have added the coffee. Based on that, we're gonna choose the category. And if there is nothing, for example, if you say something that does not include in the category, we're gonna use the category other. So what we want to do this one, you can just call this function, which is called categorize expense. So we want to put it inside this folder, and we want to call it ai.ts. So let's create this file. Let's paste it here. So this is going to, first thing first, we need to install OpenAI. Once we install it, we want to use this base URL, OpenRouter.ai, and then we're gonna have our API key. And then this is just a way to connect with the OpenRouter. Let me just show you how to do it. So let's go and search for OpenRouter, and we go to OpenRouter.ai. I'm already logged in. Actually, you can get some like a free AIs. I'll show you how to do it. So you can get your keys here. So we create a new key. For example, you name it. Now just call it expense tracker AI. You just can create it, and you can just copy your key and paste it inside your environmental variable. And this is going to be this API key, OpenRouter API key. Let me just paste it here. And this is going to be equal to that key that we have copied. Let me paste that. Okay. Now we have the OpenAI API key. So what I mean by using it for free is they have different types of AI. For example, if we look at my activities, as you can see, the cost of using, for example, DeepSeek is free. But if you want, for example, use other LMMs like, how do you say, for example, ChatGPT or GPT, for example, 4.0 and some new ones, you have to pay. But you just choose DeepSeek. This is a very good model, and it has like 685 billion parameters. It's a very, very good model. All right, so you can use it for free here. You can see. Okay, so now we have the API key added. The other things we need to add is our next public app URL. Can be anything. Yeah, we can just choose localhost 3000. And when you have your own URL, you can add it. I'm gonna add this one to our example as well, so you can have it here. I just want to remove my API key. Okay, so we're gonna define the OpenAI, and based on that, we're gonna have some requests. So what we do, we set this prompt. We just say analyze the following expense data, a financial expense, and return this JSON array. We want to return the type, title, message, action, and etc. And based on that, we're gonna get that category. And some cleanup, we have some cleaning. For example, if they don't return the JSON, we're gonna return convert it to JSON. It's not very important. And finally, we're gonna return the category. Okay, so here we're gonna use the model. Just this one is free, but if you change this one to any other model, for example, if I say GPT, for example, you have to pay. Just be careful and choose the one that is free. Okay. What happened? Okay. GPT. Yeah, this one is free. And then the message is going to be this one. And finally, it's going to return us the response, which is a category we have. So that was the AI.ts. Let's fix this error. Let's see what error we are getting here. Okay, we need to install OpenAI. So let's open the terminal here and install OpenAI. Okay, that error should be gone now. Okay. So we're gonna get the category based on this request from this AI. We get the category and return this category and replace it inside our add new record. So now we have created these two actions. Also, we have this form. We have some states, for example, for amount, alert message, alert type, and everything else like a loading. For example, if you look at the final version, when we click on add spends, we're gonna, for example, we need to choose the date, for example, today. And I could choose, for example, $5 for coffee. When we click on it, just look at this one. We're gonna have some loading effect. And finally, we have some message here. Okay. So all of these things will be possible only by these states, like it's loading. We see the category, description, and also the AI. For example, if I choose gas and click on this AI, we are gonna have some loading effect inside this button as well. Okay. So these are for this section. So when we call this function, we're gonna set the loading to true and also the alert to null. And then based on that, if there is an error, we're going to show the error. Otherwise, we want to set the alert message to expense record added successfully. As you can see, the alert type is success, so it's going to be green instead of red. So these are these kind of error handling and other things. These are not important. And finally, we want to have this title, add new expense, and this description, and we have our form. The first form, the input is going to be for the description, this, and then we have the button for the AI. As you can see, this is the loading effect for the AI. Then we have the date input with the type of date. For the category, we have this kind of select button, which is having the food, transportation, entertainment, and etc. And finally, we have the amount, which is, as you can see, the default value is 50, and it is required as well. And finally, we have a button for submission. And also we have the loading effect and etc. Finally, we have the alert section. The alert section is going to show if it's success, it's going to be this one. Otherwise, it's going to be this. And we're going to see the alert message. So let's check our final version. Let's refresh the page. Okay, you can see it here. Let's try that. For example, we add a coffee. Let's use AI to get this. As you can see, it's working. It's showing us food and dining. And if you look at the activity inside the OpenRouter and we refresh this, we can see we have a request from local source 3000. And the time is now. Token was 53 and return was only 2 token. And there was no cost related to it. So it's completely free to use. So, and then we're gonna have the amount, for example, $4. Okay. And we can add this expense. Okay. It is added successfully. Let's check our Neon. Let's go to Neon and see if the record is added or not. So expense tracker AI, we go to tables. Let's go to record. Now, as you can see, the new record is added, coffee. The amount was $4. Category is food, date, and also the user ID, which is the same as this user ID here. This one, user 2ZL. User 2ZL. Okay, that's working fine. So that was it for the add new expense. In the next section, we're going to work on this record chart. Let's add this one to the GitHub. So this is going to be add record, add expense functionality. Okay, we can commit and push. So in the next section, we're going to work on this expense chart functionality. So see in the next section. All right, in the last section, we have completed the add new expense section. We have added this form, and also we had the ability to add a new record to our database. So here we can see the newly added record here. So now we want to get this record data and then show it in our application. First, we want to show it as a chart. If you look at the final version here, you can see that this chart is showing the expense records by dates, and the amounts are here. If the amounts are low, they are green, and then it gets like blue, red once we have more expense in one day. So the things we want to change is this component. We want to, if you look at eraser.io, we can see that we want to create a component called record charts. And what we want to do is to create an action called get records, and we get all the records and show it inside the chart. So let me create this action first. Let's go to Visual Studio Code. We go to actions and we create a new one. We call it getRecords.ts. Let me just paste the code here and explain it to you. So first thing first, it's a server action. So only the code is available inside the server and users cannot see it. So it's quite safe. And what we do here, first we get the user inside the server using this auth method from Clerk. And if the user is not existed, we just say user not found. Otherwise, we want to get all the records by using this method find many, where the user ID is this one. The user ID is the Clerk ID, and we search for this one. And then we're going to order it by date, which is descending, and sorted as a descending order. And also we want to limit the request to 10 requests. If this one is successful, we want to return the records. Otherwise, we want to catch the error and show it inside the console, and also return this error as well. So, and also we need to create this TypeScript file called record. So if you look at the eraser, we have another folder here called types inside the root directory, and it has a file called record.ts. Let me just grab this and make it here. So let me close everything, and here we're gonna create a folder called types, and then we're gonna add this file there. And this is going to be the code. So basically it's just a type. Date can be a string, number, or date. We can have ID, text, amount is number, category is string, user ID, and also the created at. So now we can use this get records inside our chart component, this record chart.tsx, and we can just get the records and show it as a chart. So let me just paste the code here. So here we get the records by using that action that we have created using get records. We use await and we get the records or error. If there is an error, we want to show the error like this, saying the error loading chart data. And if the records is 0, we want to say that no data to display, start tracking your expenses to see your spending patterns visualized in this chart. Otherwise, we want to see it. And in order to see it, we want to create another component called bar chart, and we want to map through all the data and show it there. So let me create this component, bar chart.tsx. So this is the code for that. In order to use this component, we need to install a package called React Chart.js, this one, and Chart.js. So let's clear this terminal and we install Chart.js. Let's see the package.json. Now we have Chart.js here. And also let's install the other one. npm install react-chart.js-2. Okay. Now we don't have an error. So basically this is a chart and it is designed for both dark mode and light mode. And basically it's just gonna show the data, and these are the colors for the dark mode and the light mode. These are all designed beautifully. And if you look at the here, you can see it's designed for both of them. And these are the options. And also it has the ability, when you hover over it, you can see the total amount and the category. Let's see it inside our final version. Let's refresh the page. Now you can see the chart now. It's working for both light mode and dark mode. Let's see the issue here. Bar chart.tsx. Window is not defined. Okay. Let's refresh the page. Let's add a new expense first. For example, gas. Let's see the suggestion. Transportation, for example, today, $50. Okay, now see the change here. Let's check again for this error. So window.innerWidth. Let me search this one in the code. Okay, it's here. A window is not defined. So I'm gonna check it here. So let's open the chat. Let's clear this. So I'll just say I'm getting an error saying window is not defined. Okay, it seems like because it's in the server side, we don't get that, because and it's gonna use the use state and use fact hook to handle the error width. So let's skip this. Let's see if we are getting an error. That's fine now. There's no error. Let's add another one. For example, just say book. For example, 10, shopping, $15. Okay. It's working fine. Yeah, $15 added here. All right, that was it for expense chart section. Let's add this one to the GitHub. Let's see this error here. I saw an error because, okay, now it's fine. So let's go to the GitHub and add this one. And this is going to be add expense chart to the dashboard. We can commit and push. All right, in the next section, we're going to work on the expense stats. So see you in the next section. All right, in the last section, we have completed the expense chart, we have added an action to get the records and show it using this Chart.js package. In this section, we're going to work on the expense, the stats section. If you look at the final version, you can see this one has two parts actually. One is showing the average daily spending, and the other one showing the highest and the lowest. So to create this section, we need to have two actions. If you look at the eraser.io, we need to add, first thing first, we need to get all the records of one user, and based on that, we can calculate the this part. We can calculate average daily spending based on the expenses we have. And the other one we can get is this one, get best and worst expense. We can create another action to show the lowest and the highest. And based on the amount, we see the color. This is green and this one is red. And it's also working for the dark mode and light mode. So let's create these two actions. First, we need to create a get records. Let me copy this. So inside the action, create a new file called getRecords.ts. I should be a file. It already exists. Sorry, we should need to create get user record. Okay. Let's close this chat. All right, let's paste this code and explain to you. So it's a server action and it's only available inside server. We can get the database and also the authentication. First thing first, we get the user ID. If it doesn't exist, it means the user not found. So we're gonna return an error. Otherwise, we use try and catch. So first, we get all the records of that user. It doesn't have any limits. We should get all of them. And based on that, we wanna calculate we wanna get this section. Let me show you. We want to get the average daily spending. So we need to sum all of them together and divide it by the number of them. So we make the summation and divided them by the total. And finally, also, we need to have the days with the record. It's not all day. We don't have the record all day. So we need to know how many days we have the record. So we get the records, this one, and then the days that recorded. And based on that, we can calculate the average record. The next action we need to create is this one, best and worst expense. So let's create that. So this is basically the same thing. We just have the server action. We get the DB and authentication. And if the user is not available, we just say user not found. And then we want to get the records, but we want the amount to be true. So only the record that has the amount. And based on that, we want to calculate the best and worst. If the records is not existed, we want to return 0. And then based on that, we want to calculate the maximum and the minimum. I return the best and the worst expense. If an error happened, we want to return the error. So let's now complete our component, which is the expense stats. Let's paste that. Okay, this is the expense stats. We want to show two results. The user record is, we get the range result and the user record result based on these two functions that we have created, get user record and get worst and based on worst expense. So first thing first, we calculate the average expense by just, I mentioned, we valid records over the valid days. And then we're going to return the expense stats. And here we want to show the average daily spending. For example, first we just say valid days. For example, 9 days or 8 days. It depends on the records we have. And the average expense, we want to fix it to 2 decimals. And finally, we want to show the max and minimum, which is the highest. We want to get the best expense and show it. If it's not available, we just say no data. And the lowest is going to be the worst expense. And if an error happened, we want to show that you're spending inside a range, and we just want to say unable to load expense statistics. Please try again. Let's check our final version here. Now we see the expense stats. The average daily spending is $23 based on 3 days. Let's check the database. Inside the database, we can see that we have 3, 4, 15, and 50. So if you sum all these numbers and divide them by the 3, we get this number, $23. The highest is 50. As you can see, 50 is the highest. And the lowest is 4, which is this one. Let's try again, add another one. For example, another coffee. For example, today, we just say $6. And we add this. Okay. Now, instead of average daily spending decreases by 18, but it's 4 based on 4 days. Lowest is now 4, and the highest is still 50. Let's add something else. For example, travel. Let's add something big. Let's try to add, for example, last month's travel, for example, $500. As you can see now, average increased by $115. The highest is now 500. And also you can see the chart is red for that day. Okay. So everything is working fine. So let's add this one to the GitHub. And this is going to be, for example, you can say add or complete expense statics component. We can commit and push. Let's remove this E and S. Okay. So in the next section, we're going to work on the AI insight. So if you look at the final version, you can see based on the expenses we have, we can get some AI insight, for example, about the transportation, how to save money on etc. We get 4 of them. We can just update this one, or even for each of them, we can get some new data. So this one is gonna show us more information about this suggestion. So in the next section, we're going to work on that. So see you in the next section. All right, in the last section, we have completed the expense, statistics sections. In this section, we're going to work on the AI insight. For creating this part, if you look at the final version, we need to we get one information. We get all the data, firstly, and then based on the data, we're gonna have some suggestion. And then each section, it has its own AI answer. For example, this one can get us more information. So we need to have two actions for this one. One is for all of them. One is for individual answer. So if you look at the final version here, inside the eraser, we can see that we need to create a get AI insight, which is for all of them. And then we want to get AI insight answer. So let's create these two actions. First, this one. Go to the actions folder. We can paste it here. Let's paste the code. So we're gonna have a server action here. And also we want to get the user. We want to check the user first. And then also we want to get the database. So first thing first, we want to be sure the user exists. If it doesn't exist, we want to say user not authenticated. And we want to get the data for the last 30 days. So we get the data from that user, and we want to get, for example, the recent 50 expenses. If there's no expense, we can just return some boolean answer. For example, welcome, add your first expense, and something like that. Otherwise, we want to get the insight. So we're going to generate the expense insight. And based on that, we want to get that fallback insight. So the message and everything else. Now, we need to create this action as well. Let's create this action. So for this one, this is going to be a server action as well. We want to check the user as usual. If there is no user, we're going to say user not authenticated. And this one would be similar based on the last 30 days of expenses. We're going to have some result and create the answer. And if there is an error, we want to show the error. So now let's complete our components, which is the AI insight. So we want to put it here. So this one is basically has 4 answers. If you look at the final version, you can see it includes 4 answers. So we're going to have 4 different model. For example, this one has different icon. This one has different icon. So we're going to have warning, info, success, and tip. So 4 types of answer can be available. And then we want to have some states for example, loading. We want to have the last updated and AI answer, as you just might see here. For example, when we have the load, this is the loading effect for this one. And also we have a loading effect for the total answer. As you can see, it has analyzing. And here we have a loading effect. We have a loading effect as well. Okay, and so based on the request, we're gonna set the loading to true. So we're gonna use that action that we have created, and we get the result based on the information that we have based on the expenses in the last 30 days. So basically, we're gonna use a try and catch. We get the question and answer, and just and also here's a point. We just when we come to this page, if we, for example, come to this page first time, as you can see, always we fetch the AI insight at the beginning. So that's why we have added this use effect. It only runs once when the page is loaded. And then we want to, based on the get insight icon, we want to show different icons. For warning, we see this one, success. So it's completely customizable. So you can just change these icons based on your need. And also for the color, we have based on the type, for example, warning has yellow color, success green, and tip and info is different. And also for the button as well, we have different colors. As you can see here, this is yellow, green, and different types of colors here. So, and also we have here, as you can see now, we have just now. When the time passes, this one is going to be different. For example, 2 minutes ago, 1 hour ago. So everything else is designed here to show it for us. And when it is loading, we want to see that a skeleton. For example, here we see the skeleton. These are the loading effect. So these are mostly here. And then here we see the AI is analyzing when we are searching. So finally, we see the AI insight after the loading effect. As you can see here, this is for now, it's 1 minute ago. Okay. We can install actually some packages to do this one, but I've done it completely by code, not using any package. And also for each button, we have a load insight. For example, this one is going to load a new insight. Okay, so that's it for the AI insight component. Let's check the final version. As you can see now, we have the AI insight. I want to be sure that it's working fine. So for the warning, for example, high transportation, if you remember, we have added some travel and gas prices. The total is 550. They said in the last 2 days, you have spent $550 transportation, which is significantly higher than other categories. And we can just click on here and get more information about this. As you can see, you have more explanation. For example, just travel 500, gas $50. To cut the cost, explore carpooling with coworkers or using public transit. And also the coffee, we have spent $10 on coffee, and then it said if you continue like this, it's going to be $150 per month. Let's check more answer about this. So we said the total of the $10 in coffee, and it said, for example, making the coffee at home could save you roughly $140 per month. And it gives you some insight about that. And daily spending pattern. So the more data you add, you can just get more information about your expenses, and you can get like tips on how to save money and warning about your high expenses. So you don't need to always think about your expense and other things. Also, we have a button here to refresh the insight. Now we get a new insight. The more data you give this AI insight, the better result you get. Now we only have like 4 days of data. Okay, that was it for the AI insight section. Let's add this one to the GitHub. Let's add everything. Okay, create a message. Complete the AI insight component. You can commit and push. So in the next section, for the last section, we're gonna complete the record history. If you look at the final version, we can see we get all the history of our adding, and also we have some ability to delete each of them. For example, this one, you can see we can delete it, and we see the like a date of adding it, the category, and also the description you have added here. So see in the next section for the expense history. All right, in the last section, we have completed the AI Insight section. In this section, we're going to work on the record history. Now, in order to get the record history, if you look at the final version, we need to get the data, all the data, sort them and show them here. So that is one action, but we have already created this action. We don't need to create it, which that one is called to get records. We don't need to create it again. The other thing we want to add is deleting action. So once we click on this, we want to call an action and do it. So we want to create another action called delete record. So let's create this. Go to actions, delete record.ts. All right, so let's add this one. That is a server action. We want to get the database. Also, we want to get the user and also the records type script. So first, you want to be sure the user exists and then it's authenticated. If not, we're going to send an error. Otherwise, we want to just check. I think this is for the get record. Let me just replace this code here. This one, yeah, this one is for deleting. So this one, when we try and catch, we just search for the record database and then delete it. But the user must has the same ID. And the ID we are getting from the input of this action. And finally, we want to revalidate. So we want to refresh the page and see the other data is updated as well. So otherwise, we want to return an error. So this is the action. Let's complete our component, which is record history. So let's paste this. So first thing first, we want to get the records from this action that we have created before. And if an error happens, we want to show the error, for example, say error loading expense history. Otherwise, there are two options. One is that there is no record. So we're going to say no expense record was found. Start tracking your expenses to see your spending history and pattern here. And if there is a record and it's more than one, we want to show it. But we want to show it with using different component. One component called record item. And based on that, we want to send each record and show it there. So let's create this component here, record item.tsx. Let's paste this. As you can see, it's a client-side component. The reason it is client-side because we are using some hooks like use state, and also we need to click on some parts. In order to delete, you need to click it. So we have some emojis based on the category. For example, food has this emoji, transportation, shopping, and etc. So we have a piece of state called loading when we the page is loaded or something like that. Let's check, for example, here. When we refresh the page, it has some loading effect. So we want to show that. And also for the deleting, we have loading effect as well. When we click on delete, you see the loading effect here. And for the delete, as you can see, we are using this delete record action that we have created here. And also we're gonna have some, if the different expenses, we have different colors. And as you can see, the button here, and we have some SVG for the loading effect, as you can see here. And it's different from mobile and for example, in the mobile screen, you can see that we don't have a hover effect for the delete button. because in the mobile size, you don't have hovering effect. So only in the desktop, we have hover effect for delete button. So we have separate spacing and other things for mobile and bigger sizes. So let's go to here. Let's fix this error. So now we don't have any error. Let's check our application. Let's go down. Now we see the record history. Let's test the deleting. Okay, it's working. Let's add a new expense. For example, another coffee. Or, for example, last week, we just say, for example, $7. Okay. As you can see, the coffee is added here. So it's working fine. That was it for the expense history. Let's add this one to the GitHub. So this is going to be complete record, record history component. You can commit and push. So in the next section, we're going to work on deploying our application to Vercel. So see you in the next section. All right, in the last section, we have completed the expense history. We have added the ability to delete each item and also sort them by date. In this section, we're going to deploy our application to Vercel. So if you have already committed all your things, for example, my last commit is complete the record history component. So now you have everything added. So as you can see from me here, I don't have any new changes. So you can just go to Vercel. You just search Vercel and you go to vercel.com. Make sure you are logged in and it's completely free to use. And I have a lot of projects and some website, but still I'm not paying anything to Vercel yet. I'm getting some warning about my resources after adding all these projects, but still it's not mandatory to change. So you can just have a lot of free projects. And let's add a new one, the project. This is the one that we are working on 1 minute ago. You can just import that. Make sure you have connected your GitHub repository to your Vercel account, and you can see your GitHub repo here. Here we need to add our environmental variables. Let's copy them from our .env file. Let's copy everything and paste it here. And we can deploy. The deployment usually takes around less than 1 minute usually. And you can see the details here. If there is an error, we're gonna see the error. Otherwise, it's completely easy to do it. As you can see, the Next.js version and everything else is working. They are using Next build to create our application. And let's wait for that. Now 45 seconds passed. We get some warning here that img could be replaced by this tag. That is just a warning, it's not important. And some error happened here, but still working. I think it's not an important error. Yes, this is kind of Prisma things. Still working. If this one stops and say error, it means error. Otherwise, it's just fine. It looks like it's stuck somewhere. Let's go back to the home page and we go here again. And we go to deployment. This is the test one. So let's go back here. Let's refresh the page. This one. Let's go to deployment. And we get an error here. That's fine. We'll check the error. Yeah, that was the error. Failed to connect configuration for Prisma client. Prisma has detected that this project was built on Vercel, which caches dependency. This list on outdated Prisma client because Prisma auto generation isn't triggered. To fix this, make sure you run Prisma generate command during the build process. Okay, so I think inside our package.json for the build, we need to add the Prisma as well. Okay, here, instead of this, I'm gonna change this one to Prisma generate and next build. So now let's add this one to the GitHub. Let's add a message for that. And commit and push. This push is going to automatically triggers our Vercel. So if you go back to deployment, as you can see, the new deployment has started. As you can see, we don't need to trigger it again. So we wait for this one to be completed and we see if we are getting the same error as well or not. All right, this time was successful. Let's click on it. You can see our website is completed and this domain is available for this project. Let's click on this domain and this is going to open our application here. So you can easily share this link with others and just share it with others because it's now available for everyone. So now let's test all the pages. For example, home page is working fine. Let's go to about. That's okay. Contact. Let's see okay. It's working. Let's sign in. Sign in with this account. Okay. Let's check our dashboard inside the home page. Okay, it's working fine. We got the image. This section is working. Expands chart. Let's see the AI insight. Okay, it's working fine. Let's try the others. Oh, it's working fine. The history. Let's delete this one, for example. Okay, it's working fine. Let's add a new expense. For example, gas. For today, this insight is working. Now we get the category transportation. For example, we just say $56. Okay, now we get this transportation here. Let's update our AI insight. Yeah, it's working fine. As you can see, now the transportation spending is $606. And if we get more insight about that, it's like this. And let's test if it's mobile friendly or not. So this is more friendly here. And AI insight. Let's see the history. Let's delete this. It's working fine. So that was it for deployment part. So now we have our application inside Vercel. If you want to change your, for example, domain, you can just click here, manage, And you can add your domain here or buy a domain and change it this one. But this one is working fine as well, but this is free. And it has the Vercel.app at the end. So I hope you enjoyed this project and learned many things. Let me know your opinion about the project and what you want to see in the next one. So see you in the next project.